The raffle ticket trembled between my fingers as Dr. Stevens called out the winning numbers. One by one, they matched mine, each digit a tiny explosion in my chest. When he announced I'd won the luxury Napa Valley getaway, I couldn't stop grinning. 2 nights at the Golden Valley Resort, wine tastings, spa treatments, everything Brandon and I desperately needed. Congratulations, Joy! My coworker Adam clapped me on the back. About time something good happened around here. I clutched the golden envelope to my chest, already imagining Brandon's face when I surprised him. We hadn't taken a real vacation since our honeymoon 3 years ago. Between his demanding sales job and his mother's constant emergencies, we barely had time for date nights anymore. He's going to flip, I said, more to myself than Adam. In a good way, I hope. Adam's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. He'd heard enough of my marriage troubles over lunch breaks to fill a therapy session. I rushed home early, stopping to pick up Brandon's favorite takeout and a bottle of champagne. The house was quiet when I walked in. No mother-in-law camping on our couch or calling with her latest crisis. Perfect. Brandon came home late, as usual. His tie was loose, dark circles under his eyes. "Hey, babe," he mumbled, barely looking up from his phone. "I have amazing news." I set out the food, poured champagne. "Remember that company raffle?" He glanced up briefly. "The charity thing? I won. 2 nights at Golden Valley Resort in Napa, all expenses paid. Just you and me, next weekend." I held out the envelope like an offering. Brandon's fingers froze on his phone. "Next weekend? Yes, isn't it perfect? We can finally have that romantic getaway we've been talking about." He set his phone down slowly. "Joy, Mom's having her knee surgery next weekend. I told you I needed to be there for her recovery." The champagne bubbles turned sour in my stomach. "That's just a minor outpatient procedure. The doctor said she'd be fine in a day." "She needs me there. You know how she gets anxious about medical stuff since Dad died." "She has a whole church group ready to help her. And Tom." "Don't bring up Tom." Brandon's voice hardened. "He abandoned her. I won't do the same thing." I took a deep breath. What if you took her instead of me?" The words felt like betrayal in my mouth, but I had to know. Brandon's face lit up. "That's perfect. Mom would love it. She's always wanted to visit wine country." The room spun slightly. "I was joking, Brandon. The prize is for couples. I won it. I want to go with my husband." "Don't be selfish, Joy. Mom needs this more than we do. She's been so lonely lately." "Selfish?" The word hit like a slap. "I'm selfish for wanting 2 days alone with my husband?" Brandon stood up, food untouched. "If you can't understand how much Mom needs me right now, maybe we need to rethink some things." "What things?" "This marriage, our priorities." He grabbed his keys. "I'm going to check on Mom. Don't wait up." The front door slammed, leaving me alone with cooling takeout and flat champagne. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. "How'd he take the news?" I stared at the golden envelope, now crumpled in my fist. 3 years of putting Linda first. 3 years of canceled dates and interrupted moments. 3 years of watching my marriage dissolve into a twisted threesome I never signed up for. My fingers flew across the phone. "You free for coffee? I need to talk about revenge." Grace stirred her coffee with calculated precision, her eyes fixed on me across the diner booth. "He actually suggested taking his mother instead of you?" I pushed my untouched eggs around the plate. "You know what kills me? 5 years ago, Brandon would have never done this. Remember our wedding? He actually told Linda to back off when she tried to plan the whole thing herself." "I remember." "What changed?" The question hung between us like smoke. My mind drifted to our first anniversary when Brandon surprised me with a weekend in Seattle. We made it halfway there before Linda called, claiming chest pains. By the time we got to the emergency room, she was chatting with nurses about their children. Nothing wrong with her heart, just a panic attack, they said. "Everything changed after his father died," I said. "It's like Brandon's terrified of losing her too." Grace's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then her eyes widened. "Speaking of Linda, isn't that her?" I turned. Through the diner's front window, I watched my mother-in-law stride into the boutique across the street, looking remarkably spry for someone facing knee surgery next week. "Let's follow her," Grace said, already reaching for her purse. "What? No, that's exactly what we're doing." She threw down cash for our breakfast. Come on, Nancy Drew. We crossed the street, ducking into the boutique. Linda stood at a rack of designer dresses, holding up a sequined number that cost more than my monthly car payment. Can you believe Brandon? She was saying into her phone. Trying to waste that lovely prize on Joy when he knows I've always wanted to see wine country? Yes, I know the knee thing was last minute, but it worked, didn't it? My stomach clenched. Grace grabbed my arm, steadying me. Of course I feel bad, Linda continued, but what choice do I have? Ever since his father died, I've had to get creative to keep him close. You should have seen how he used to be with her, Sarah. Like I didn't even exist. The dress slipped from my numb fingers, hitting the floor with a soft thud. Linda spun around. Our eyes met. I'll call you back, she said quickly, ending the call. Her face transformed, concern replacing calculation. Joy, what a surprise. I was just looking for something to wear after my surgery. Funny, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. I thought you'd be resting that knee. Oh, the doctor said light activity is good for circulation. She smiled, but her eyes darted toward the exit. I should get going. So much to do before next week. Like planning your wine tour? The color drained from her face. I don't know what you think you heard. I heard enough. I stepped closer. You're not having surgery at all, are you? Now, Joy, don't jump to conclusions. Brandon wouldn't like... Brandon isn't here. My voice dropped lower. But I am, and I heard everything. Linda's facade cracked. You don't understand. After Robert died, Brandon was all I had left. Then you came along, and suddenly he had someone else to care about. Do you know what that's like? To watch someone you love choose someone else? Yeah, Linda, I do. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. Please don't tell him, she whispered. He wouldn't understand. Grace appeared at my side, phone in hand. Too late, I recorded everything. Linda's eyes narrowed. You wouldn't dare. I thought about Brandon, about our ruined Seattle trip, about countless dinners interrupted by his mother's emergencies, about the way he looked at me last night, choosing her over me without hesitation. You're right, I said. I won't tell him? Yet. But that Napa trip, it's staying mine, and if you try to interfere, Brandon will hear exactly how creative you've gotten at keeping him close. I turned and walked out, Grace beside me, leaving Linda clutching her designer dress like a shield. Outside, my hands shook as I gulped the cool morning air. That was badass, Grace said softly. What now? I watched Linda hurry out of the boutique, phone already pressed to her ear. Now we start planning that trip to Napa, and this time, I'm not taking no for an answer. The bank statement trembled in my hands as I stared at the series of transfers. $2,000 last month, $1,500 the month before, all to an account I didn't recognize. Our savings had been hemorrhaging money for months, and I'd finally discovered why. I called the bank. 5 minutes later, I had my answer. The account belonged to Linda Parker. The front door clicked open. Brandon walked in, whistling. He froze when he saw me at the kitchen table, papers spread out like evidence at a crime scene. You're home early, he said. Funny thing about that. I held up the statement. I had to leave work when the mortgage company called. Apparently, we're 2 months behind on payments. The whistle died on his lips. I can explain. Please do. Explain why you've been sending thousands to your mother while we default on our house. She needed help with medical bills. What medical bills, Brandon? The fake knee surgery? The words shot out before I could stop them. His face darkened. What are you talking about? I saw her yesterday, shopping for designer dresses, strutting around like a runway model. Some knee problem. You're spying on my mother now? No, I'm discovering how deep her manipulation goes. And yours. Brandon slumped into a chair. It's not what you think. After Dad died, after your father died, you became her emotional husband. I get it. But stealing from our future? That's crossing a line. I didn't steal anything. It's our money. Our money? When was the last time you consulted me about our money? The silence stretched between us like a chasm. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. Found Tom's number. Want it? Brandon noticed my expression change. Who's that? Your brother. He shot up from his chair. Stay away from Tom. He doesn't understand our family. Maybe he understands more than you think. I stood, gathering the bank statements. I'm going to Grace's tonight. Don't wait up. Joy, wait. He grabbed my arm. Mom needs us. She's all alone. And whose fault is that? I yanked free. Did you ever wonder why Tom left? Why your father spent so much time at work? Why I'm leaving right now? You're not leaving. We can fix this. Can we? Because from where I'm standing, there are 3 people in this marriage, and I'm the only one being honest. I walked out, my heart hammering. In my car, I texted Grace back. Send Tom's number. Time to hear the other side of this story. An hour later, I sat across from Tom Parker in a quiet bar on the edge of town. He looked like Brandon, but harder, weathered by years of choosing freedom over family obligation. So, he said, studying his whiskey, little brother's following in mother's footsteps. What do you mean? The money thing. It's how she controlled Dad, too. Emotional blackmail backed by financial manipulation. She'd spend recklessly, then cry about bills until he gave in. When he finally stood up to her, he trailed off. What happened? Heart attack at 55. Stress, the doctor said, but I knew better. Tom's knuckles whitened around his glass. Brandon was always her favorite, more pliable. After Dad died, I tried to warn him. He chose her side. Haven't spoken since. My phone lit up with Brandon's 10th message. Please come home. We can work this out. You know what the worst part is? Tom continued. She's not evil. She's just empty. Nothing's ever enough. Not Dad's love, not my independence, not Brandon's devotion, and now, not your marriage. How did you break free? He smiled grimly. I realized something. Sometimes loving someone means walking away, letting them face the consequences of their choices. I thought about the Napa tickets sitting in my purse, about Brandon's ultimatum, about years of putting Linda first. I have an idea, I said slowly, but I'll need your help. Tom leaned forward. I'm listening. It's time for a family reunion, one that forces everyone to face the truth, even if it breaks us all. 3 days at Grace's house turned into a week. Brandon's calls became less frequent, his messages shorter. Each one ended the same way. Mom needs me, never I need you, or come home. I threw myself into work, but even there, I couldn't escape. Adam caught me crying in the break room, staring at an old photo on my phone. Brandon and me in Seattle before we turned back. You look different there, Adam said, sliding a coffee across the table. Happy? I tried to smile. Real? He hesitated. Listen, there's something you should know. I overheard Brandon on a call yesterday during the client meeting. My stomach tightened. Brandon hadn't mentioned any meeting. He was talking about selling stocks, Adam continued. Something about needing quick cash for a down payment. Down payment? The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. What down payment? On a condo, for his mother. The mug slipped from my hands, shattering against the floor. Coffee spread like blood across the tiles. Joy, I have to go. I grabbed my purse, leaving the mess behind. 20 minutes later, I sat in our investment advisor's office, watching him pull up our accounts. The numbers confirmed my worst fears. Brandon had liquidated almost everything. The transfer started 3 months ago, the advisor explained. Mr. Parker said you were both aware. We weren't both anything. I stood up, the room spinning slightly. Thank you for your time. Outside, I called Tom. Did you know about the condo? What condo? The one your brother's buying for Linda, with our retirement funds. Silence crackled across the line. Then, meet me at Murphy's, now. At the bar, Tom nursed a scotch while I paced. She did this before, he said finally, right before Dad died. Convinced him to buy her a vacation house in Florida. Said she needed somewhere to heal after her imaginary cancer scare. Cancer scare? One of her greatest hits. Lasted 6 months. Miraculous recovery, of course. He laughed bitterly. Dad died before the closing. Heart attack, remember? The stress of refinancing everything. My phone buzzed. Brandon again? This time, I answered. Where are you? His voice was tight. Mom's worried sick. Is she, or is she too busy condo shopping? The line went quiet. Who told you? Does it matter? Were you going to tell me before or after you emptied our accounts? You don't understand? No, you don't understand. I just left our investment advisor's office. You didn't just take our savings, Brandon. You took our future. Mom needs security after everything she's been through. Everything she's been through? My voice rose. What about what she's put us through? What about what she did to your father? Don't bring him into this. Why not? Because you might realize you're following his footsteps right into an early grave. Tom flinched beside me. I'm doing what's right, Brandon said. If you can't support that? If I can't support that, what? You'll leave me? Newsflash, Brandon. You left this marriage a long time ago. I just didn't want to admit it. I hung up before he could respond. Tom watched me carefully. What now? He asked. My phone lit up with a text from Grace. Found you an apartment, 3-month lease available immediately. Another message popped up, this one from Linda. Please don't destroy my family. Brandon needs me. I stared at the words, feeling something shift inside me. Not sadness anymore, not even anger. Something colder, more focused. Now? I looked at Tom. Now we stop playing defense. You said Linda had a miracle recovery from her cancer scare? He nodded slowly. I bet there are medical records, or rather, a lack of them. Records that might interest Brandon's therapist, or his lawyer. Joy, she wants to play games with people's lives? Fine, but I'm done being a pawn. I stood up, steadier than I'd felt in weeks. It's time to show Linda what happens when you push someone too far. Tom's expression darkened with recognition. You sound like Dad, right before the end. Good, I said, reaching for my keys. Because this is the end, just not the one Linda's expecting. The hospital records lay scattered across Grace's dining room table like pieces of a twisted puzzle. Tom's contact at County General had come through. Every medical file for Linda Parker over the past decade. Nothing, Grace said, shuffling through papers. No cancer screenings, no serious illnesses, just routine checkups and... She paused, frowning at a document. What? Psychiatric referrals, lots of them, all declined. My phone buzzed. Brandon. Coming home tonight, we need to talk about the condo. I ignored it, focusing on the papers. Look at these dates. The first referral was right after your father died, I said to Tom. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. 2 weeks before she claimed she found the lump. The imaginary lump that convinced your father to buy that house. And nearly bankrupted him doing it? Tom's jaw tightened. History repeating itself. Grace's doorbell rang. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Linda's silver Mercedes. Perfect timing, I muttered, grabbing the files. Let's see how she handles her own medical history. But when Grace opened the door, it wasn't Linda who stepped inside. It was Brandon. Mom's in the car, he said quickly. She doesn't know I'm here. His eyes locked onto the papers in my hands. What are those? Your mother's greatest performances. I held up a psychiatric referral. Tell me, did she ever mention these? You had no right. Like you had no right to drain our accounts? I stepped closer. Your father died because of her games, Brandon. And you're following the same path. Dad died of a heart attack. After months of financial stress and emotional manipulation. Just like what she's doing to you now. Brandon's face flushed. The condo is an investment? It's a trap, just like the Florida house was for your father, just like this marriage has become for me. Joy, I'm going to Napa next weekend, I cut him off. With or without you, but first you need to see something. I handed him the psychiatric referrals. His hands trembled as he read. Multiple recommendations for treatment of factitious disorder, he mumbled. Tendency to fabricate medical conditions for attention and control. A car horn blared outside, Linda growing impatient. She needs help, Brandon. Real help, not enabling. He looked up, tears in his eyes. What am I supposed to do? Choose. Right now. Stay here. Read these files, face the truth, or go back to that car and keep pretending. The horn sounded again, longer this time. She's waiting, I said softly. Brandon stared at the papers, then at me. For a moment, I saw a glimmer of the man I'd married. strong, independent, capable of standing up to his mother's manipulation. Then his phone buzzed. Linda's text lit up the screen. "I'm feeling dizzy. Please hurry." Just like that, the glimmer vanished. He set the papers down. "I can't leave her alone like this." "Like what? Perfectly healthy but desperate for attention?" "You don't understand." "No, you don't understand. This ends now. Either you stay and face reality or I'm done. And I'm taking everything we have left to court." Brandon stepped back, shaking his head. "You wouldn't." "Try me. I've got 3 years of financial records and a stack of medical files that prove elder abuse by proxy. How do you think a judge will view that?" The horn blared a third time. Brandon looked at the door, then back at me. "I'm sorry," he whispered and walked out. I watched through the window as he got into the Mercedes. As they drove away, Tom placed a hand on my shoulder. "Now what?" I picked up my phone, dialing my lawyer's number. "Now we do this my way. Book your ticket to Napa, Tom. It's time for that family reunion we discussed." "Joy," Grace warned. "Revenge won't fix this." "This isn't about revenge anymore." I watched the Mercedes disappear around the corner. "It's about survival, and I'm done being the victim in Linda Parker's tragedy." The Napa Valley sunset painted everything gold, but I felt nothing but cold as I watched Brandon's car pull into the resort parking lot. Linda sat in the passenger seat, exactly where I should have been. "Right on schedule," Tom muttered beside me. "Mom never could resist crashing a party." I clutched the envelope containing the medical records. "Did you send the anonymous tip?" "Called the front desk an hour ago. They think she's here for a surprise anniversary celebration." Brandon helped Linda out of the car, her movements deliberately slow and fragile. The same act she'd perfected during her cancer scare, now recycled for a new audience. "Show time," I whispered, stepping into view. Brandon froze. Linda's hand flew to her chest, her signature move when feeling faint. "Joy?" Brandon's voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" "Enjoying my prize. The question is, what are you doing here, with her?" Linda swayed dramatically. "Brandon, I'm feeling dizzy." "Drop the act, Linda." Tom emerged from the shadows. "We've seen this performance before." The color drained from Linda's face. "Tom, Brandon, what's happening?" "That's what I'd like to know." Brandon looked between us, lost. "Why are you both?" "Because someone needs to stop this." I opened the envelope. "Remember these, Linda? The psychiatric referrals you ignored? The ones from right before Robert's death?" Linda straightened, her fragility act forgotten. "Those are private." "Like the private accounts Brandon's been funding? Or the private conversations about the condo?" "Joy, please." Brandon stepped forward. "This isn't the place." "It's exactly the place. Where else could I get you both away from your carefully constructed reality?" "You're making a scene," Linda hissed. "No, I'm making a point." I turned to Brandon. "Your father died because of her manipulation. Tom left because he couldn't take it anymore. And now you're throwing away our marriage for what? Another of her fabricated emergencies?" Brandon's phone buzzed. Probably the front desk about the surprise celebration. He ignored it, staring at the medical files in my hands. "Mom?" His voice was small, uncertain. "What are they talking about?" Linda's mask cracked. "They're trying to turn you against me, just like Tom did. Just like your father." "Don't you dare mention Dad," Tom snapped. "You killed him with your games." "I loved him." "You consumed him," I corrected. "Like you're consuming Brandon." Brandon stepped back, shaking his head. "This isn't... I can't..." "Choose Brandon," I said quietly. "Right here, right now. Your mother's lies or the truth." Linda grabbed his arm. "I'm your mother. I need you..." "No," I cut in. "You want him. There's a difference." Brandon looked at the files, at his brother, at me. For a moment, I saw clarity in his eyes. Then Linda collapsed. Not her usual delicate swoon, but a full theatrical fall. Brandon caught her automatically, years of conditioning taking over. "Mom! Mom! Call an ambulance!" Linda gasped. My heart... I watched Brandon transform back into the dutiful son, all clarity vanishing as he cradled his mother. Tom's hand found my shoulder. "Joy, don't..." I stepped back, something breaking inside me. I'm done. Brandon looked up, torn. Joy, please, I have to. Take care of her, I know. I dropped the medical files at his feet. You always do. Linda's eyes met mine through her performance, triumphant. She'd won again. I turned away, my carefully planned confrontation crumbling like sand. Behind me, I heard Brandon calling for help. Linda's theatrical moans, Tom's disgusted sigh. In my pocket, my phone buzzed with a text from Grace. How did it go? I watched the golden sunset fade to purple, thinking of all the years I'd wasted fighting a battle that was rigged from the start. Some people don't want to be saved from their demons. Sometimes they prefer the familiar chains to uncertain freedom. It's over, I typed back. Time to let go. The ambulance sirens wailed in the distance, a fitting soundtrack to the death of my marriage. I walked away from the scene, leaving Brandon to his chosen fate. Behind me, Linda's performance reached its crescendo, but I didn't look back. Some victories only come through surrender. The emergency room buzzed with fluorescent intensity as I strode past the nurse's station. Linda's latest performance had landed her in the cardiac ward, though her preliminary tests showed nothing wrong. Of course. I found her alone in room 412, Brandon presumably off fetching her another blanket or ice chip or whatever else she'd demanded. She looked smaller in the hospital bed, more vulnerable, but her eyes were sharp as ever when they met mine. Come to gloat, she asked. No, I came to give you this. I placed a worn leather journal on her bedside table. Found it in Robert's old briefcase. Tom kept it all these years. Linda's hand trembled as she reached for it. Robert's diary? His suicide note, essentially. Every manipulation, every fake illness, every financial drain, he documented it all. Right up until the day his heart gave out. She withdrew her hand as if burned. You're lying. Read it yourself. Page 47 is particularly interesting. The day you first mentioned that non-existent lump. The hospital machinery beeped steadily as Linda stared at the journal. You don't understand what it's like, she whispered. To watch your children slip away. To feel yourself becoming unnecessary. So you make yourself necessary through lies? Through emotional blackmail? I keep my family close. You keep them trapped. And now you're doing it to Brandon. She lifted her chin. Brandon loves me. Brandon fears you. There's a difference. I moved closer. But here's what you should fear. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. I'm taking what's left of our money, all traceable to your fake emergencies. And this journal, copies are going to Brandon's therapist and lawyer. He'll never believe. Maybe not at first, but seeds of doubt are funny things. They grow. Just ask Tom. Footsteps approached, Brandon returning. Linda's face contorted with panic. What do you want? She hissed. Get help, real help, the kind those psychiatric referrals suggested years ago, or I'll make sure Brandon sees exactly what happened to his father. Brandon appeared in the doorway, clutching a cup of ice chips. He froze, looking between us. Everything okay? He asked cautiously. I turned to leave, but Linda's voice stopped me. Wait. She was crying now, real tears this time. Brandon, there's something I need to tell you. I watched the scene unfold, Linda confessing to her lies, Brandon's face crumpling as she described the years of manipulation, the truth about his father's death, the fabricated illnesses, the financial destruction. I couldn't bear to lose you too, she finished. Brandon sat heavily in the visitor's chair, his world reshaping itself around this new reality. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. All this time, I'm sorry, Linda whispered. I'll get help. I promise. Just don't leave me alone. Brandon looked at me, then back at his mother. I saw the choice weighing on him, the same choice his father never got to make. You won't be alone, Mom, he said finally, but you need help, professional help, and I need time. He stood up, shoulders straight for the first time in years. Joy, I'll be at Grace's, I said softly. When you're ready to talk. Linda called out as I reached the door. I really am sorry, for everything. I turned back one last time. I know, that's why I brought the journal instead of sending it straight to Brandon. Everyone deserves one chance to choose truth over lies. In the hallway, Tom waited by the elevator. "How'd it go?" "Better than revenge," I said. "She's finally facing herself." "And Brandon?" I watched through the window as Brandon held his mother's hand, both of them crying now, not from manipulation, but from truth. "He's facing himself too. Sometimes that's the hardest battle of all." The elevator doors opened. As we stepped in, I heard Linda ask for her psychiatrist referral papers. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in helping them find their way back to humanity, even if that means letting go of your own need for revenge. The Italian sun warmed my face as I sipped espresso at the small cafe in Florence. Grace had insisted on this trip. Healing through carbs, she called it. My phone buzzed with a text from Tom, a photo of Linda at her therapy session, actually showing up this time. Progress, however small. "Another postcard?" Grace nodded at the blank card on our table. "Last one. I'd been writing them throughout our trip, not to send, but to say the things I needed to say. This one was for Brandon." The waiter brought our bill just as my phone buzzed again. Brandon's name lit up the screen, his first contact since signing the divorce papers 3 weeks ago. "The condo sale went through," his message read, "using the money for Mom's treatment instead." I set the phone down, letting the weight of those words settle. No accusations, no guilt trips, just truth. The one thing that had been missing from our marriage for so long. "You okay?" Grace asked. "Better than okay." I picked up my pen, finally knowing what to write on that last postcard. Not about revenge or justice or even forgiveness. Something simpler, more honest. A shadow fell across our table. I looked up to find Adam, his familiar pragmatic smile somehow softer in the Tuscan light. "Fancy meeting you here," he said. Grace's eyes widened. "Did you—" "I might have mentioned our itinerary to him," I admitted. Sometimes the best way forward is with someone who saw you clearly all along. Adam pulled up a chair, ordered an espresso in surprisingly decent Italian. We talked about everything and nothing. Work, travel, the way life surprises you when you stop trying to control it. My phone buzzed one more time, a message from Linda. "Thank you for the journal, for giving me a chance to choose differently. I thought about revenge, about how I'd wanted to destroy her, to make her feel as trapped as I had. But in the end, the greatest victory wasn't in tearing someone down. It was in finding the strength to walk away, to let them face their own demons while you face your future." "There's this little vineyard in Chianti," Adam said, his knee brushing mine under the table. "If you're interested." Grace kicked me softly, grinning. I looked at the postcard, still blank except for Brandon's name. What do you say to someone who is both your greatest love and your hardest lesson? In the end, I wrote just 3 words. Choose yourself first. The waiter returned with Adam's coffee, asking if we needed anything else. I caught my reflection in the window, no longer the woman who'd won that Napa Valley trip, desperate to save a marriage that was already gone. Someone stronger now. Someone who understood that sometimes the happy ending isn't about winning or losing, but about finding the courage to write your own story. "Actually," I said, both to the waiter and to whatever twist of fate had brought me here, "we'll take another round. We're celebrating." "What are we celebrating?" Adam asked. I tucked the postcard into my bag, unsigned. Some words don't need to be sent to be heard. "New chapters," I said, raising my cup. "And the art of letting go." Grace and Adam lifted their cups too, the afternoon sun turning everything to gold. Somewhere back home, Brandon was learning to set boundaries, Linda was facing her fears in therapy, and Tom was rebuilding bridges he'd thought forever burned. And here, in this moment, I was exactly where I needed to be. Not because I'd won or lost, but because I'd finally understood that the greatest act of revenge against a life that's trapped you is to simply set yourself free. The espresso was bitter and perfect on my tongue, tasting like truth, like possibility, like the kind of peace that comes not from victory, but from finally, completely, letting go.
The sickly sweet scent of disinfectant couldn't mask the tension hanging in the hospital corridor. I lingered outside room 342, my hand frozen on the medication cart, as my husband's voice drifted through the partially open door. "Everything's arranged. She won't suspect a thing until it's too late." My name is Eliana, and after 19 years of marriage, I'd never heard that tone in Ronald's voice before. Calculated, cold, almost predatory. The transfer should be complete by Friday, he continued. Once the paperwork's filed, she'll have no legal recourse. Trust me, I've covered every angle. The cart's wheels squeaked as I shifted my weight. My hands trembled as I pretended to reorganize supplies, straining to catch every word. A patient call light flashed at the end of the hall, but for the first time in my 15 years as a nurse, I ignored it. Martha's divorce left her vulnerable. Perfect timing, really. And Marie, well, teenagers are easy to manipulate when they're angry at their parents. My sister and my daughter. The two people I'd been desperately trying to protect since Martha's marriage imploded 6 months ago. The medication vials clinked as my fingers tightened around the cart handle. Mother's already on board. She doesn't know the details, but she'll back my play. She always does. Of course my mother would side with Ronald. She'd worshipped him since the day he'd walked into our lives, the successful businessman who'd swept her eldest daughter off her feet. If she only knew what I'd discovered in the past few weeks. The missing funds from our joint accounts, the secret meetings, the whispered phone calls. Austin's keeping Marie distracted. Smart kid knows exactly what to say to keep her mind off what's happening at home, worth every penny I'm paying him. My daughter's tutor, the charming young man I'd trusted to help with her college preparations. The betrayal burned in my throat like acid. Footsteps approached the door. I pushed the cart forward, trying to appear busy as Ronald emerged, phone still pressed to his ear. He paused when he saw me, his practiced smile sliding into place. "Gotta go," he said into the phone. "Important meeting." He ended the call, tucking the phone into his suit pocket. "Sweetheart, what are you doing on this floor? I thought you worked in pediatrics." "Covering a shift for Marvin," I said, forcing myself to meet his eyes. "His mother's in hospice?" Always the helpful one. He kissed my cheek, his cologne overwhelming. "Don't work too late. Marie's making dinner tonight." I watched him stride away, his expensive shoes clicking against the linoleum. My daughter cooking dinner? Marie hadn't set foot in our kitchen since she'd started spending time with Austin 3 months ago. The call light was still blinking. I pushed the cart toward it, my mind racing. Whatever Ronald was planning, he'd wrapped our entire family into his scheme. My sister, my daughter, my mother. Even Marie's tutor was involved. In the supply closet, I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called the one person I could still trust. "Marvin, I need your help." My voice cracked. "Remember when you said something felt off about Ronald's investment proposal for the hospital pension fund? I think I just found out why." The line went quiet for a moment. "What do you need?" he finally asked. "Access to the hospital's financial records. And—" I hesitated, knowing this request would change everything. "I need you to help me destroy my husband before he destroys our family." Another pause. "Come to my office after your shift. Bring everything you've found so far." I ended the call and leaned against the metal shelving, my heart pounding. The game Ronald was playing had rules I didn't understand yet, but I was done being a pawn. It was time to become a player. The call light blinked again, more urgent now. I straightened my scrubs and took a deep breath. First, I had patients to care for. Then, I had a family to save. The financial records spread across Marvin's desk told a story of calculated deception. Each transaction, each transfer painted a clearer picture of Ronald's scheme. But it was my sister's text that made my blood run cold. "Marie's not at my place," Martha wrote. "She said she was staying with me tonight." I gripped the edge of Marvin's desk. "I need to go." "Wait." Marvin's hand hovered over a document. "Look at these timestamps. The transfers to Austin's account started 3 months ago, right when Marie's grades began slipping." The pieces clicked together with nauseating clarity. That's when I hired him as her tutor. $2,000, weekly payments. Marvin tapped the screen. "That's not tutoring money." My phone buzzed again. Martha. "Found her. She's at that new cafe on 5th with Austin." "Keep watching them," I texted back. "I'm on my way." The cafe was packed with evening customers when I arrived. Through the window, I spotted my sister hunched in a corner booth, pretending to read a magazine. 3 tables away, Marie sat with Austin, her face animated as she gestured with her hands. The same way I used to at her age, when everything felt possible and adults were just obstacles to be overcome. "She's been here an hour," Martha whispered as I slid into her booth. "He keeps showing her something on his phone. She looks excited." I studied Austin's body language, the calculated way he leaned forward, how his eyes darted to the door every few minutes. "Has Ronald called?" "Twice. I covered for her." Martha's fingers drummed against her coffee cup. "Eliana, there's something else. Elijah called me this morning." The mention of her ex-husband's name made me turn. "What did he want?" He asked about Ronald, specific questions about his business practices, his partners. She lowered her voice. He said he's been investigating him for months, that Ronald's involved in something bigger than we realize. At Marie's table, Austin stood suddenly, heading toward the restroom. His phone lay face up on the table. "Watch my purse," I said, standing. "Eliana, don't—" But I was already moving, timing my path to intersect with Marie's table. My daughter's eyes widened as I approached. "Mom, what are you—" I snatched Austin's phone, my fingers flying over the screen before it could lock. Messages, recent calls, photos. "Hey!" Austin's voice cut through the cafe chatter. "What do you think you're doing?" The last opened message thread caught my eye, from Ronald. "Keep her occupied, whatever it takes." Marie grabbed for the phone. "Mom, stop it! You're embarrassing me!" I held the device out of reach, scrolling frantically. More messages appeared. Dates, times, instructions. A photo of bank documents. My signature forged. Austin reached us, his charm replaced by something harder. "Mrs. Eliana, that's private property." "Like the property you're helping my husband steal?" The words came out sharp enough to draw stares from nearby tables. The tutoring was just a cover, wasn't it? What's he paying you to manipulate my daughter? Marie stood so quickly her chair toppled. He's not manipulating me. Austin's the only one who actually listens to me, who treats me like an adult. Marie. But she was already pushing past me, tears streaming down her face. Austin moved to follow her. I grabbed his arm. "Touch my daughter again, and I'll make sure every college in the state knows what kind of tutor you really are." His mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. "Careful, Eliana. You don't want to make an enemy of your husband's friends." Martha appeared at my side as Austin retrieved his phone and left. Marie took off toward the bus stop. "Want me to follow her?" I shook my head, watching my daughter's retreating figure through the window. "She'll go home. She has to keep up appearances for Ronald." "What are you going to do?" The cafe's overhead lights flickered, casting strange shadows across the empty table where my daughter had sat, plotting with my enemies. "I'm going to talk to Elijah. If he's been investigating Ronald, he must have found something we can use." "Be careful," Martha warned. "Elijah's not exactly stable since the divorce." "Neither am I." I gathered my purse, my mind already racing ahead to the next move in this dangerous game. Not anymore. The hospital's administrative files filled Marvin's computer screen, each document more damning than the last. My hands trembled as I read the numbers. Pension funds diverted, investment accounts drained, employee savings vanished into shell companies. "Ronald's been systematically stealing from the hospital for years," Marvin said, his voice tight. "But here's where it gets worse." He pulled up another document. "Your signature's on half these authorizations." "That's impossible. I know you didn't, but someone did." He pointed to a date. "This one was signed while you were in surgery with that trauma case last month, remember? The 6-hour procedure?" The room seemed to tilt sideways. "He's setting me up to take the fall." "There's more," Marvin hesitated. "The board's launching an investigation. Your name's already been flagged." A knock at the office door made us both jump. The handle turned before we could respond, and my mother's caregiver stepped in. "Jason?" I straightened. "What are you doing here?" "Your mother sent me." His usually calm face was etched with concern. "She needs you at the house, now." "I can't just—" "Ronald's there," he cut in, "with Marie." The drive to my mother's house was a blur. Jason's car weaved through traffic as he spoke in low tones. "They arrived an hour ago. Ronald was agitated, started talking about moving assets, protecting the family. Your mother seemed confused, but she kept agreeing with everything he said." "And Marie?" "Silent, wouldn't look at anyone." He gripped the steering wheel tighter. "There's something else. A man showed up just before I left, said his name was Elijah. Martha's ex-husband." My chest tightened. "What did he want?" "Don't know. Your mother wouldn't let him in, but he said he'd wait." The scene at the house was worse than I'd imagined. Elijah stood in the driveway, arguing with my mother. Ronald's voice boomed from inside. Marie sat on the front steps, her face buried in her phone. "You have no right to be here," my mother shouted at Elijah. "Haven't you caused enough damage?" "Show her the papers," Elijah called when he saw me. "Show her what her precious son-in-law's been doing with her foundation's money." Ronald appeared in the doorway. "Eliana, don't listen to him. He's trying to destroy our family." "Like you destroyed mine?" Elijah advanced. "Tell them how you really made your fortune. Tell them about the families you bankrupted." "Mom?" Marie's voice cracked. "What's happening?" I moved toward my daughter, but Ronald got there first. Go inside, sweetheart. This doesn't concern you. Everything concerns her, I said, including what you're paying Austin to do. The color drained from Ronald's face. Behind him, my mother gasped. You're all being manipulated, Ronald recovered quickly. Elijah's bitter about his divorce. He's turning you against me. The offshore accounts, Elijah interrupted. The forged documents, the missing pension funds. Should I keep going? Marie stood suddenly. Austin said you were helping him start a business. That's what the money was for. Marie, Ronald reached for her. Don't touch her. The words came out like ice. Don't you dare touch our daughter. Silence fell. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. Show them, Elijah pressed. Show them what I found. I pulled out my phone, opened the files Marvin had sent. Mother, look at these. Really look. But my mother backed away. I don't want to see anything he's given you. Ronald's protected this family. He's been stealing from you for years, Jason spoke up. Everyone turned. He stepped forward, pulled an envelope from his jacket. I've been watching, documenting everything. The late-night calls, the mysterious visitors, the papers he makes you sign without reading. Ronald's mask cracked. For just a moment, I saw the truth, the desperation, the fury, the fear. Marie, I said softly, check your phone, the last message from Austin. She did. Her face crumpled as she read. I trusted you, she whispered to Ronald. Then she ran inside. This isn't over, Ronald snarled, but his eyes darted between faces, calculating odds, measuring loyalty. No, I agreed. It's just beginning. The front door slammed as Elijah stepped closer, a predatory gleam in his eyes. Should I tell them about Singapore, or shall you? Ronald's face went ash gray. Whatever Singapore meant, it was the key to everything. And suddenly I knew, this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about survival. The Singapore files lay scattered across Elijah's kitchen table like pieces of a shattered mirror, each fragment reflecting a different angle of Ronald's deception. 3 companies dissolved overnight, Elijah said, tapping a document. 48 employees left without severance. 1 man lost everything, his house, his savings. 2 weeks later, he drove his car off a bridge. My throat tightened. And Ronald? Walked away with millions, the same pattern he's using now with the hospital pension fund. He slid another paper forward. But here's what makes it personal. Martha's trust fund was part of that deal. The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the silence. Outside, rain peppered the windows, distorting the streetlights. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Because Ronald's about to do it again, but this time... Elijah's phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression darkening. Your mother's called an emergency family meeting, tonight. My own phone lit up with the message. Dinner at 7, attendance mandatory, my mother's way of maintaining the illusion of control. She's choosing sides, I said. She already has. Elijah gathered the papers. Ronald's convinced her to transfer her estate into a new trust, one he controls. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the rain-streaked glass, I recognized Jason's silhouette. Your mother sent me to fetch you, he said when I opened the door. His eyes darted to Elijah, then back to me. But there's something you need to know first. He pulled out his phone, played a recording. My mother's voice, thin with anxiety. The Singapore deal wasn't supposed to hurt anyone. Ronald promised. When was this? I demanded. Last night. She talks in her sleep sometimes, mentions dates, names. Jason lowered his voice. She knew about Singapore before it happened. She helped Ronald set it up. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. My own mother, complicit in destroying lives, including her younger daughter's future. There's more, Jason continued. Austin visited her yesterday morning. They talked about Marie's college fund. My hands curled into fists. She wouldn't dare. She already has. Elijah held up another document. The transfer was completed this morning. Ronald now controls every penny of Marie's education money. The pieces clicked together with terrible clarity. The tutoring, the late-night meetings, Austin's manipulation. It was all about isolating Marie, ensuring she'd side with Ronald when everything fell apart. My phone buzzed again. Martha. Marie's missing. Austin's not answering his phone. The world tilted sideways. I steadied myself against the door frame. I know where they'll be, Elijah said, grabbing his keys. The same place Ronald took his victims in Singapore. Somewhere public, somewhere they can't make a scene while he explains how this is all for their own good. The drive to the art museum was tense with unspoken fears. We found them in the East Wing, Ronald, my mother, Austin, and Marie. My daughter's face was streaked with tears as Ronald gestured at something on his tablet. Just sign here, sweetheart, he was saying. It's the only way to protect your future. The only thing she needs protection from is you. My voice carried across the empty gallery. Ronald's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing raw fury before smoothing into concern. Eliana, you're not thinking clearly. Tell her, Gabrielle. Tell her how we're trying to help. My mother stepped forward, her designer handbag clutched like a shield. Sometimes love means making difficult choices. Like Singapore? The words hit their mark. My mother stumbled back. Jason recorded everything, Mother, every guilty whisper, every confession. Marie looked between us, confusion turning to understanding. What's Singapore? Ask your grandmother, Elijah said quietly. Ask her about the man who died because of their difficult choices. Austin moved toward Marie, but I was faster. Touch her, and every recording, every document goes public. Your promising future ends right here. Marie, Ronald tried one last time. You know I only want what's best. What you want, I cut in, is control. But it's over. The hospital board knows everything. The police will too once they see what Elijah found. The tablet slipped from Ronald's hands, clattering on the marble floor. In the shattered screen, I caught my reflection and saw something I hadn't noticed before. I was smiling. The dining room in my mother's house felt like a stage set for a Greek tragedy. Crystal glasses caught the chandelier light, throwing prismatic shadows across faces that had become unrecognizable to me. Ronald sat at the head of the table, my mother to his right, both wearing expressions of practiced concern. You're being unreasonable, my mother said, cutting her meat with precise movements. Ronald has always protected this family. Marie pushed her food around her plate. The bruise on her wrist, from when she'd fallen earlier that afternoon, was darkening to purple. An accident that happened moments after she'd tried to tell me something about Austin. Protection shouldn't leave bruises, I said. Ronald's fork clinked against his plate. That was unfortunate, but if she hadn't been running— From what? Martha interrupted. What exactly was my niece running from? The air crackled with tension. Jason moved silently around the table, refilling water glasses, his presence a reminder of everything he'd overheard. Marie, Ronald's voice softened dangerously, why don't you tell them about the scholarship opportunity Austin found for you, the one in Singapore? My daughter's face went pale. I haven't decided. It's already arranged, my mother cut in. The paperwork just needs signatures. The room tilted sideways. Singapore. Always Singapore. She's 17, I said. She can't leave the country without my consent. Actually, Ronald pulled out a folder, as her legal guardian. What did you say? The papers you signed last month for Marie's college fund? He smiled. They included a transfer of guardianship. Temporary, of course, just until she turns 18. Martha's glass shattered in her grip, blood mixed with water on the white tablecloth. You forged those papers, I whispered. Prove it. Ronald's mask slipped, revealing something reptilian beneath. Your signatures on everything. The hospital transfers, the trust documents, even the Singapore arrangements. Who do you think they'll believe? The respected businessman or the unstable nurse who's been making wild accusations? Tell them, Marie suddenly burst out, tell them what Austin really— The crash came from behind me. I turned to see Jason sprawled on the floor, a serving tray overturned beside him. Marie screamed. He's having a seizure, my mother cried. But I'd seen seizures. This wasn't one. Jason's eyes found mine as he convulsed, trying to form words. Call an ambulance! Martha grabbed her phone. No! Ronald stood. I'll take him. My car's faster. Don't! Jason gasped. The drink— Understanding hit like a thunderbolt. I lunged for Marie's untouched water glass, but Ronald was faster. It shattered against the wall. Mother, I said quietly, what did you let him do? She wouldn't meet my eyes. Sometimes sacrifices— Sacrifices? Martha's voice rose hysterically. Like Singapore? Like that man who died? Marie stood so quickly her chair toppled. What man? What are you talking about? Your grandfather, Jason managed, his breathing labored. Tell her about her grandfather. The color drained from my mother's face. Ronald moved toward Jason, but Marvin, who'd been silent until now, blocked his path. The ambulance is coming, Martha said, and the police. You've lost control, I told Ronald, of everything. His laugh was hollow. Have I? Marie's still legally under my guardianship. The hospital board still has evidence of your fraud. And now a tragic accident at a family dinner. He glanced at Jason. Stress can do terrible things to people. Marie, I said, not taking my eyes off Ronald. Get your things. You're leaving with Martha. She's not going anywhere. Ronald's hand closed around Marie's arm. Tell them, sweetheart, tell them how happy you are about Singapore. My daughter looked at me, then at the bruise on her wrist, then at Jason still gasping on the floor. Something shifted in her eyes. You're right, she said quietly. I should tell them everything. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ronald's grip tightened. I should tell them about the recordings, Marie continued. The ones Austin didn't know I was making. Every meeting, every threat, every promise about Singapore. She pulled out her phone. Should we play them now? The look on Ronald's face made me realize he wasn't the only one who could orchestrate a staged catastrophe. The hospital's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows as I watched Jason fight for his life through the ICU window. The doctors had confirmed what I already knew, targeted poisoning, carefully dosed to look like natural causes. He's stabilized, Marvin said, joining me, but the police want to know why you delayed calling the ambulance. My hands curled into fists. They think I was involved? Ronald's been talking to them, suggesting things. He hesitated. The board suspended you pending investigation. A nurse I'd worked with for 10 years walked past, averting her eyes. My reputation, my career, everything I'd built, dissolving like sugar in rain. My phone buzzed. Martha. Marie's gone. The world tilted sideways. What? She went to get her laptop from the house. Austin was waiting. They left together 20 minutes ago. The memory of Marie's bruised wrist flashed through my mind. Track her phone. Already tried. It's off. But Elijah says he knows where Austin takes his targets. Some warehouse by the industrial park. Don't move. I'm coming. But as I turned to leave, 2 police detectives blocked my path. Mrs. Eliana, the older one said, we need to discuss the incident at your mother's house and some concerning financial transactions. My daughter's missing. We know. Your husband's already filed a report. Claims you've been unstable, making threats. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry wasps. Through the ICU window, Jason's monitors beeped steadily, each sound a reminder of how Ronald had nearly killed him to keep him quiet. Check his water glass, I said. From the dinner. Check Jason's blood work. You'll find... The evidence has been contaminated, the younger detective cut in. Your mother's housekeeper already cleaned everything up, on Ronald's instructions. Of course she had. Ronald never left loose ends. My phone buzzed again, an unknown number. The message contained one image, a photograph I'd never seen before. My mother, 20 years younger, standing beside a man I recognized from the Singapore files. The man who'd died. Below it, text appeared. Ask your mother who really killed your father. The timestamp showed it came from Marie's phone. I need to go, I told the detectives. Now. If you leave the hospital, we'll have to... Marvin stepped between us. I'm invoking medical privacy laws. This conversation is over until her lawyer arrives. They're taking Marie to Singapore, I said once we were alone. Ronald's recreating his old pattern. But this time... I showed him the photo. His face went gray. Your father's car accident. It wasn't... An accident? Apparently not. The pieces clicked together with nauseating clarity. That's why my mother always supported Ronald. He helped her hide something. Where are you going? To the warehouse. Martha and Elijah are meeting me. The police will follow you. Let them. I touched the ICU glass one last time. Jason risked everything to protect Marie. I won't let that be for nothing. But in the parking lot, my mother waited beside my car. You can't stop this, she said. Some secrets have to stay buried. Like what really happened to my father? She flinched. You don't understand. I understand that you and Ronald murdered my father. That you've been helping him destroy lives ever since. That now you're helping him take my daughter. To protect her, Singapore is safe. Far from all this mess you're creating. The last time Ronald sent someone to Singapore, they died. Your father was weak. He would have ruined everything, just like you're trying to do now. She pulled out her phone. One call, and those detectives arrest you. Marie goes to Singapore with Austin, clean slate. And if I back off? Then maybe we can discuss arrangements, supervised visits once she's settled. The hospital lights cast my mother's shadow long and dark across the pavement. In it, I saw every lie, every manipulation, every moment she'd chosen Ronald's schemes over her own children. You know what's funny? I said quietly. I actually recorded that entire conversation. Just like Marie recorded Austin. I guess it runs in the family. Her face contorted. She reached for her phone, but I was already moving. Behind her, Marvin appeared with the detectives. "I'll tell them everything," she hissed as they approached. "Good." I got into my car. "Start with Singapore. I'm sure they'd love to hear about my father's accident." In the rearview mirror, I watched them lead her away. One betrayal exposed. But Marie was still out there, and time was running out. The warehouse loomed against the twilight sky, its broken windows reflecting the last traces of sunlight. Martha's car was already parked outside, Elijah standing guard beside it. "Third floor," he said as I approached. "Ronald's waiting with Austin. They have Marie." "The police?" 10 minutes out, but... He hesitated. "There's something else. The Singapore files, they weren't just about money laundering, they were about human trafficking, young girls sent overseas as students." The bruise on Marie's wrist flashed through my mind. That's why he wanted guardianship. "Eliana," Martha emerged from the shadows. "Jason's awake. He told the police everything. About Mother, about Dad's accident, about Ronald's operation. Then we end this. Now." The warehouse stairs creaked under our feet. Each step brought back memories. My father's smile, my mother's lies, Ronald's calculated manipulation of everyone I loved. We found them in what had once been an office. Marie sat in a corner, Austin's hand on her shoulder. Ronald stood by a desk covered in papers, looking almost bored. "Right on schedule," he said, "though I expected you sooner." "It's over," I said. "The police know everything, about Singapore, about the trafficking, about my father." "Do they?" He smiled. "Or do they have the story your mother's telling them? About how you've lost your mind with paranoid delusions, how you've been threatening Marie, tampering with hospital records?" "I have proof." "You have nothing. Every document, every recording, it all leads back to you. The perfect fall from grace. Respected nurse becomes unstable conspiracy theorist, loses everything," he gestured to Marie, "including her daughter." "Show her," Marie said suddenly. Ronald's smile faltered. "What?" "Show her what you made me record," my daughter's voice trembled. "The confession you forced me to make." Austin's grip tightened on her shoulder. "Marie. Or I could show them this instead." She pulled out her phone. Every meeting, every threat, every detail about Singapore, about what really happened to my grandfather. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Ronald's mask cracked, revealing something feral beneath. "You ungrateful little..." He lunged for the phone. Several things happened at once. Austin pulled Marie back. Martha screamed. Elijah moved to intercept Ronald. And I saw the glint of metal in Ronald's hand. The gunshot echoed off concrete walls. Elijah stumbled, clutching his side. Martha ran to him as Ronald turned the gun toward Marie. "The phone," he said. "Now." "It's already uploaded," Marie said. "Everything, to every news outlet in the city, to the police, to the hospital board." "You're lying." "Check your phone," I said quietly. "The notifications should be starting right about now." His free hand fumbled for his pocket. As his attention wavered, Austin made his move, but not the one I expected. He shoved Marie toward Ronald. "We had a deal," Austin said. "I deliver her to Singapore, I get my cut." "You pathetic." Marie twisted away from both men. "I recorded you too, every promise, every plan. Did you really think I was that naive?" Sirens wailed in the distance. Ronald's composure shattered completely. "You're just like your father," he snarled at me. He couldn't understand either. The bigger picture, the necessity of sacrifice. "The only sacrifice," I said, "was letting you into our lives." He raised the gun again, but this time Marie was ready. She threw her phone at his face as Martha tackled him from behind. The gun skittered across the floor. Austin bolted for the door, but Elijah, despite his wound, caught him with a well-placed punch. "Singapore," Ronald spat as I picked up his gun. "You have no idea what you've lost. The connections, the power." "The only power you had," I said, "was what we gave you. And now?" I nodded toward the window where red and blue lights painted the warehouse walls. "Now you have nothing." As the police burst in, I watched my husband's empire crumble. But it was Marie's hand slipping into mine that told me we'd truly won. "Mom?" she whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. About the recordings. You did exactly what you needed to do." I squeezed her hand. "You survived, just like I taught you." Through the broken windows, dawn began to break, the first light of a world without Ronald's shadows. The visiting room at the detention center smelled of industrial cleaner and stale coffee. Austin sat across from me, his charm replaced by something harder, more desperate. "I want a deal," he said. "You had your chance for deals." I placed a folder on the table. "But there's something you still haven't explained, the other girls." His eyes darted to the guard by the door. "I don't know what—" Oh. Singapore wasn't just about Marie. Ronald's operation went back years. How many others did you help him target? Help him? Austin's laugh was brittle. "You still don't get it, do you? This was my operation. Ronald was just the money man, the respectable face. I found the girls, I groomed them, He stopped, realizing too late what he'd admitted. Behind the two-way mirror, I knew the detectives were recording everything. "Marie was different," he continued quickly. "I actually cared." "Save it for your trial," I stood. "The Singapore authorities are particularly interested in your testimony." Outside, Marie waited with Martha. My daughter's face had regained its color, though the bruise on her wrist had faded to a yellowish reminder. "Did he confess?" she asked. "To everything, including the other victims." I touched her shoulder. "You saved them, you know. Your recordings, your courage, you brought down their entire network." "But not without help," she glanced at Martha. "Aunt Martha taught me how to hide the recordings, and Elijah is recovering well," Martha finished. "The doctors say he can leave the hospital next week." We drove to the courthouse where my mother's hearing was scheduled. Jason sat on the steps, looking frail but determined. "They're ready for us," he said. Inside, my mother wouldn't meet my eyes as she pleaded guilty to conspiracy charges. The judge's words washed over me. Sentences, restitution, closure. But it was my mother's final statement that cut deepest. "I thought I was protecting them," she said. "Like I protected myself when their father threatened to expose my affairs. Ronald promised to make it look like an accident." Marie squeezed my hand as the bailiff led my mother away. At home, our new home, bought with the recovered funds from Ronald's accounts, I found Marie in her father's old study. She held a photograph I hadn't seen in years. My father teaching me to ride a bike, his smile bright and real. "Do you hate her?" Marie asked. "Grandmother?" "No." I sat beside her. "Hate takes too much energy, and we need that energy for rebuilding." "The police found 3 more girls," she said quietly. "In Singapore. They're coming home. Because of you. Because we fought back. All of us." She traced my father's face in the photo. "Do you think he'd be proud? Of us exposing a trafficking ring? Of you being brave enough to gather evidence? Of our family choosing truth over comfortable lies?" I smiled. "Yes, but he'd be prouder of what we do next." "Which is?" "Live, help others. Remember that revenge isn't about destroying people, it's about protecting those who can't protect themselves." The doorbell rang. Martha stood outside with Marvin and Elijah carrying takeout containers. "The hospital board called," Marvin announced as we set up dinner. "They've reinstated you, with back pay and an apology." "And Ronald?" Martha asked, talking to prosecutors, trying to save himself. Elijah's wound made him wince as he sat. But with Austin's confession, Marie placed the last plate on the table. "Mom, I've been thinking about college. Singapore's definitely off the list," I said. "Actually," she straightened, "I want to study criminal justice, help other families fight back." The evening light filtered through our new windows, casting warm shadows across faces that had weathered betrayal and emerged stronger, not unscathed, but unbroken. "First rule of fighting back," I said, raising my glass. "Never do it alone." "To family," Martha offered. "To truth," Elijah added. "To justice," Marie said firmly. "To all of it," I finished, "and to whatever comes next." Outside, the sun set on the remnants of Ronald's empire, but inside, surrounded by the people who'd fought beside me, I finally understood. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting free.